Well, welcome back for part 2. Okay, finishing up our mini rose. We're ready for our next layer of our second size of our rose. And I've got my triangle. I want my triangle to line up. So just hold that for a second. Doing my fingers again, exactly where I want it to go. I see where I want it, so I'm going to put my glue there. Hold it till it's dry. It's worth waiting that excuse me, it's worth waiting those other 20 seconds to hold that up there. Make sure it's good and dry. Usually you can go by, if it's cooled off, it's probably dry. Not always true, but usually is. Alright, so ready for my next side. Remember, I'm always going up. Oh, that one's not quite dry. Neither's that one. I can feel them popping up already. And that's because the paper is so heavy. Don't usually have that much of a problem when you're using a regular 65-pound. And Michael's lately has been having a sale on their paper that you can get 5 packs of 50 paper for $10. I loaded up on that one. And I happened in on Joann Fabrics, I believe maybe Sunday afternoon, I can't remember, but the doorbusters. Might have been Saturday too, I can't remember now. Anyway, their doorbuster was 70% off of their paper. So I picked up a pack of 50 again for $2. And also the 110-pound paper, which I use a lot for cards, I got that at 70% off. So that was a really good buy, because that's like $15 for, I don't remember how many sheets. Okay, so see my flowers coming together. It's not looking too bad. And I can see some wrinkles, but I think when we get it all totally done, it's going to be just fine. There's going to look like little seams or little, little veins going off. And I know flowers have those too. Okay. Let's see, that one's about dry. So I'm going to hold my fingers under the petal, push, and create my exactly where I want that to go. And make sure it has a gap. That's really what I'm doing, is I'm checking for that gap. And as your leaves get down further, the gap's going to get a little bigger and bigger each time. And you'll see that as we go. Now, as you notice, you're going to have a little fold in between each one of your flowers. That's going to be important for the next level. So I'm going to be talking to you about that, because now your triangle isn't going to exist when you fold that up. You'll see that when I get there too, so I'll get there. I'll show it to you in just a second, as soon as I get this layer. Let's hear a piece on here. So now, oops, see, you don't have a triangle here. You know that triangle's gone. It's just on those other layers. See, more strings, more strings. Okay, and I'm running out of glue, so I'm going to load up my glue stick again. Here we go. Okay, so that's about dry. I'm going to keep an eye on that as I set it aside and get ready for my next 4 layers. Okay, and I'm going to the next size of a petal also. Glue my flaps together, my little legs. Someone called those legs. And I'm going to crisscross. And I'm going to flip. And I'm going to take note which petals are on the top. See, those are on the top. Oh dear, didn't quite catch that one. Okay, that's not going to hold, so I'm going to have to put some glue on it. So now I'm going to, as I'm holding this, I can explain to you. Your little ridge that you have on each one of your flowers, in the middle of your flowers, is going to go even with each one of these edges of the petals, the in between that. So as when I go to set it down, I'm going to watch real close so that I can line up those ridges. So see how they're lined up? That's lined up with that. That one's lined up with that. And etc., etc. You want those to be lined up. Okay. And now I'm ready to glue them again. My fingers again, they're going to be done. And see how much of a gap I have now? And I'm actually gluing these onto the ridges. Okay. So let's get those nice and glued up. And hold it. I'm still going to go across. So when I get this petal done, I'm going to go across and do the one that's just exactly opposite from it. Just the way it's done. Otherwise they're going to be overlapping each other and they're not going to look nice. They can't overlap that way. You got to overlap them this way. So turn it over, and I'm thinking that's probably not quite glued tight enough yet. But hold it up and hold it. I have noticed though that I can press pretty hard on that to hold them together without bending it. And they'll go just fine. Sometimes on the 65 pound, when you hold it this tight, it'll bend those in a little bit. But this paper's pretty thick, it's not doing that. I'll buy my paper either at Michael's or Joann's. I haven't gotten to where I'll buy that online yet because I want to see the color. Sometimes seeing it on the screen is not quite right. I have a problem with purple. I've got this beautiful, it's close to a periwinkle, kind of a purpley color. My cat got a hold of this, so I probably won't be able to use this flower. But in pictures, this one looks black. So I'm not, I don't care to use that one. I know somebody asks me about it, I'll let them know. And in person it's a pretty purple, but when it's photographed it looks black. Alright, so I'm ready to do these last two. And see how those are just gonna, just kind of hug those around. But they do go on top of that petal that's previously there. Our last layer doesn't do that. Our last layer is kind of, doesn't touch each other at all. These petals are going to be used for small groupings. I have a show coming up in a couple weeks and I want to have at least 7 groupings, and I'll use 1 large flower and 2 small flowers. And I haven't decided if I'm going to mix the colors yet. My husband likes to see them mixed, but if you're putting it in a little girl's room or something, you're going to maybe want to stick with pink. However, they do look pretty with that yellow. Although this color of yellow, even though it looks yellow, it's called cream. And I wasn't sure I was going to like that, but paper was on sale, so I bought it, and boy, I do like it. I do like it very much. Okay, is that touching? Nope, it's not, so I need to redo that one. And since these are going on top of each other, I'm going to go ahead and try and put it there, see if it'll hold it good enough to glue it. Hot, 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 hot. Got that on my finger. You see, that's kind of a pretty, now it's not finished, and you can tell because it looks empty. Right here, you know, each one of the petals, where the petals are, it looks a little empty. So you know that, okay, I'm not quite done with that yet. So as I'm holding this last one, I tend to try to do more than one thing at a time. So as I'm holding that, I'll get my next 4 and get those ready. And I feel like I'm doing 2 things at once. Oops, I don't want that. Is that what you mean about all those strings? Crisscross it. Check this one, see if this one's dry enough to let go. Very lovely, very lovely. Flip it. And glue it. I want to make sure I line those up again. Now this time I can start watching, because I want those to go just in between the petals. Okay, so I know that's exactly where I want it to go. Okay. And I'm still going to start with the top one. That's this one right here. Because I want that to touch right against that flower. And yes, it's hot again. The glue's gotten pretty hot. I can hold it inside the flowers now. They're getting enough apart that I can do that. I just hold it. See, that's going to be a finished rose if you'd like to do even a smaller rose. Looks pretty nice. Okay, holding it, testing where do I want my glob of glue to go. And there it is. Oh, I see some more strings right there. I need to get rid of that. Not until I let this hold this good. I do try to take off my strings as I see them, because if I wait till the very end, sometimes they're down a little bit too far inside the rose and I can't get them out. I've also done some distressing on the edges of the roses where you just put some ink on the edges. They turn out really pretty. I don't have any right here that I can show you. Maybe when I get into part 3 of this, because I know I'm running out of time. YouTube only allows 15-minute segments. And I'm using my grandson's YouTube. I'm sure you probably noticed that when you went up to my site. It's Trevor07 or something like that. That there's other things there, so he's kind of fun to watch. He's gotten into doing a lot of crafts also. He goes with me to the craft shows and has done quite well. He sells, I can't think of, pearly beads. He makes things with pearly beads. And some of his stuff is take apart, put together. Okay, so this rose is just about finished. Not finished, I still have one more row, but you can finish it, leave it this size if you want just a smaller rose. Okay, I think, let me see if I can let go of that yet. No, maybe not. Over there. Bend it and place it. Yep, see, that's not quite good enough. Do it again. Hold it tight. It still was wet. It wasn't quite ready for me to do. Okay. You see, that's really a pretty rose, just like that. Come back for part 3, where we're going to add on our last layer of petals.